you're curious about the making of Batman Beyond Year 1, follow along as we go over this very long journey to finish the film. One of the first processes we started while I was still writing the script was figuring out the Batsuit. I knew we needed something striking and bold, but I wanted to make sure that we kept inspiration from the source material. I gathered reference for the Beyond suit from the cartoon to comics and even other fan art online. Our concept artist Dave Paget then came up with some initial sketches of the suit and logo. I wanted something sleek that would keep the acrobatic nature of Terry while also feeling functional and grounded. We also had to consider what we could practically build with a limited budget. After the front was locked in, we had to figure out the back. My idea for how the wings would work is that each wing would have 3 points of connection to the suit: the shoulder blade, waist, and wrist. And once we had a design that we were happy with, Chris Robinson of GC5FX could take the next steps with getting it physically created. We took measurements of our actors to provide a base starting point for the suits, so Chris could build the costumes out in 3D on his end. It was a similar approach for the Royal Flush Gang, which were concepted by Adam Lee. I imagined this crime family as if they had tactical experience and equipment, while keeping the theatrical flair from the cartoon with the colors and royal imagery. It was fun exploring different variations for Jack and Ten's costumes before eventually settling on a final look. Over the next few months, Chris continued working on the suits before eventually shipping them to LA. Since the costumes were done long distance, we expected that things might not perfectly fit the actors upon our first try. Usually it takes some back and forth with adjustments to get things just right, and we didn't have that luxury here. Thankfully, Vanessa Lee of Supersuit Factory was able to help us with alterations. Susanna Song, our costume designer, and I visited Vanessa along with our performers over a few days. They were then able to do any sizing alterations needed to make sure the costumes were as comfortable as possible, allowing for a range of motion for the actors to do their stunts and any other final touches we wanted for the aesthetics. While this was going on, we were also planning how the stunts should be. Batman Beyond has plenty of fun and dynamic fights, so I wanted to keep that energy for our short. When the script was ready, our action designer, Jay Kwan, and I spoke about the action beats in the script, styles of fighting we could incorporate, and any specific shots or stunts we'd want to add in. Once we had a general roadmap for the fights, we had to put that to the test with stunt rehearsals and previs. Jay assembled his team of performers and crew, and we scheduled out several days that people could meet. The first day or two consisted mainly of brainstorming ideas and seeing what would naturally flow from moment to moment. After the base ideas were set, Jay and his team worked on shooting previs for the fights. Now we could start incorporating how the camera would tie into the choreography. As the footage was shot, Jay began cutting it into a rough edit to feel how the pacing was and how the shots cut next to each other. The scene was actually turning out longer than I had anticipated, but it was better to start big and aim high with what we could get and then simplify later on. We saved the more complex stunts for the last day of rehearsal. There were a few moments in the fight that would require wire work for Batman and Jack. This day needed more hands on deck, but we were able to test and practice several wire stunts for flying, kicking, and getting hit. This was definitely a highlight for me, just seeing how fun it can be with stunts and wires. Besides the super suits, it was crucial that the costumes, hair, and makeup for the rest of the characters also felt like they belonged in a futuristic and cyberpunk era. Susanna assembled a lookbook for each costume, along with variations in shirts, pants, shoes, accessories, all these little things that would add up to someone's personality and tone. Both Terry and Melanie had some pretty iconic looks that we wanted to emulate. With Terry, it was about getting the right jacket and casual fit that would sell his cool demeanor. Susanna ended up modifying a leather jacket to add the silver stripes to the shoulder. For Melanie, it was important to keep the dual color tone with the black and pink, which I think was a simple but effective visual cue for her secret identity and split loyalties. With the Jokers, we had a lot more freedom. The goal was just to keep the fun and chaotic nature of Spike and Dottie. With the mix and match of items, we assembled some pretty fun costumes that kept their color inspirations and helped them feel like they belonged to a grungy street gang. Jordan Sanders then complemented the costumes with some fantastic hair and makeup adjustments on our cast. Taking a similar approach, she came up with some mock-ups to test out different wigs, possible hair dyes, and makeup looks. Overall, we went for looks that we felt kept the same personalities and aesthetics of the original characters. Between the costumes and stunt days, we also slowly worked on rehearsals whenever we had time with the cast.
Sorry, I'm late. I got caught up with something.
That's okay. I just got here a few minutes ago.
Hope this make up for it.
Not a chance.
The next piece of the puzzle was building out the rest of Neo Gotham. Production designer Marc DeBertier had a big task in front of him, putting together sets for 4 different scenes in a cyberpunk city, again on a very limited budget. 3 of our scenes were going to be shot on a stage, but we still wanted physical components on set to make the environment feel more tangible and real. We spent weeks going over what buildings we would want to see on the stages, and Marc was able to design concepts for the 3 main set pieces: our juice bar nightclub, a city rooftop that Batman stands on, and a bridge overlooking the city. Though we didn't end up doing this, we were originally supposed to film with virtual production on a volume, so our production design had to work in tandem with our visual effects team. To begin, I went back and forth with Marc to figure out a game plan for what we'd want to see on the sets and how we would orient them on the stage to be efficient with our time, since we would have to switch between the 3 sets in 2 shooting days. When our concepts for the 3 set pieces were locked, I passed those on to our VFX team so they could start building out the corresponding virtual scenes in Unreal Engine. In the weeks leading up to the shoot, Marc and the art department worked super hard with gathering all of the physical materials, and they began assembling the set pieces. Shout out to others in our production team who pitched in to help. We definitely needed all hands on deck for this. Once this was done, everything was loaded onto a truck and transported over to the stage where we were shooting. But the work did not end there. Originally, we were supposed to have about 3 days for the art team to unload and build up the set pieces on the stage, leading up to the Saturday that we'd shoot. But due to the last minute scheduling issues we had where we had to switch to a green screen stage, we ended up only having 1 day for them to do everything. It was an insane rush, and we actually didn't even finish on that Friday, so the preparations continued into Saturday morning during the shoot.
They're kind of there, so if you want to maybe like show a shot from behind and do like one, it feels like a street, so if you want to foreground elements, like that basically.
Still, we managed to get the sets ready, taking us to day 1 of the shoot. It was an extremely hectic morning, and I'm so thankful for everyone who worked hard to get things going. While the finishing touches were being done for the set and for our G&E team to light the scene, cast were getting ready in costumes. Afterward, Jordan was able to really transform them into their characters with the hair and makeup applied. This was our first time seeing it all come together with wardrobe, and it was super fun to see, especially with Spike and Dottie's faces turning into the Jokers. It honestly felt like we were stepping into a whole new world. Then the next 2 days were filled with non-stop rushing to get our 3 scenes filmed. Here's a montage of some clips to show what happened that first weekend.
Alright, let's start the roll.
Marker?
Alright, quiet all around. Rolling.
Hey guys, set.
Set.
Hey, and 3, 2, 1, action!
Don't you have some clown show to attend?
On action, she's just gonna act like she just fell with her head. She's gonna start laughing. That's not very nice. Spike looks, laughs maniacally. It's quite a gentleman. And then you're like, set and action.
What a gentleman! Get lost. Don't you have some clown show to attend?
So I'm standing up, I'm laughing, I'm looking here. The spike will move. The spike will move here. How's there?
Are you watching in English? No. Oh, I started first.
Okay. So this is
Can I get the color letter really quick?
back to straight and you can slide that in.
And action. I hope these can make up for it.
Not a chance. But it's a start.
Bellamy. Sorry.
Clean side facing
Exactly.
fence.
Yeah.
Unfair.
It's unfair. To who? To those who aren't.
Because you might need details.
Hey, Michael.
We split this chocolate in half.
Soon well, and then we could have tubes. Maybe that comes up and settles. If that's not working, we can do some past, just taking the light and put it down with our hand. And then,
Cool kid. Remember, the soup doesn't make me mad. Maybe.
It sure does help. This upgrade, of course, thanks to you, is just what I need.
Action! Oh, you probably can't even hear me. You set, Tony? And action! Cut!
Action!
We were relieved to have finished the first weekend, but there was no time to rest yet. Things continued to be frantic leading up to the second weekend. I actually even got scammed by a prop maker. I have a separate video going over what happened, so check that out if you want to see more, but long story short, we had some key props and weapons that we needed for the shoot that I never got. Thankfully, we were able to scrounge together some stand-in props at the last minute. And I do mean last minute. Jay had to pick up stunt knives for Jack to use literally the morning of the shoot. Our scenes here would take place in an empty warehouse that we had to fill up with so many props. One fun piece was the Wayne Powers crates that we had throughout the space, which we achieved with some custom WP stickers Mark had made. Once we added some lighting and haze in the space, it really helped sell the atmosphere of this warehouse. One problem we encountered this weekend was the heat. There were 30 to 40 people inside an enclosed space with no windows, lots of lights and equipment, and stunt actors performing energetic fight scenes wearing heavy costumes. We had portable AC units running, but they had to be turned off anytime cameras were rolling. It was hot enough for the crew, but I feel especially bad for our cast. It truly were troopers bearing the heat as they performed. Our team actually had to have ice and cooling towels on standby between takes, just to keep them cold and hydrated. We had a very ambitious schedule, shooting a long fight sequence in just 2 days, but we were able to power through and get what we needed.
But, you know, try not to. Yeah. Are you right or left? I'm right. Okay. You're gonna look around. Stop right here. Boom. You're gonna fire, and we're gonna have a muzzle flash legacy. Nice. Yeah. And after that point, release the choreography. And 3, 2, 1, action! Man, what?
Over here, just so there's a clean bit on every side. Michael, I think I got it, but just tell me.
Set? Set. Tony, set?
Yeah, set.
Here we go. And 3, 2, 1, up. Three, 2, 1, up. Here we go. And 3, 2, 1, up. Action. Action. And hit. 2, 1, hook! One more.
I gotta go.
Over the next few weeks, our editor Kevin Hickman began cutting the film together. Because there was so much VFX needed, we prioritized the scenes with green screen so that artists could start working on those as soon as possible. Once we had an edit we were happy with, then began the very, very long process of visual effects.
It's just that... Never mind.
We luckily had the Unreal Engine environments for those scenes built already back from pre-production. However, we wanted to spend more time polishing them further to get the most quality possible, so the team spent a few more months adding more detail and adjusting lighting. On top of that, there were some key shots in the film that would have the city more in focus. For those, we wanted to push beyond what Unreal Engine could do, so we had traditional CG artists work separately on those parts of the city at the same time. We also had a few shots that would need various CG assets, including our Batman digidouble, CG knives, and CG batarangs. We took lots of photos of the practical suit along with the prop weapons to help build the CG assets, and we were able to put together some digital replicas. Then, as needed, we would animate and render CG versions of either Batman or the weapons into the shots. While the VFX went on, we passed the edit of the film to our composer Alexander Arntzen so that he could begin on the score. We went through different iterations of ideas, honing in on parts we liked each time. Alex was able to bring in some memorable elements from the original cartoon, like with the heavy electric guitar and grunge sound, while also ushering in some more futuristic and cyberpunk tones. It was a delicate balance between everything, and I think it worked really well. We carried that over with the sound design from Luc Giblian. Especially in our exterior scenes in the city, Luke decorated the environment with noises and sounds to fill the streets and make them feel alive. Then Luke brought his expertise with action into our fight scenes. The visuals are just half the battle, and things began to pop more when sound design came into the mix. While we did have audio on set for the warehouse location, most of it had to be redone afterwards to make sure everything sounded consistent. There's a lot of Foley added in to fill the gaps with footsteps, weapons hitting each other, and also creative and stylized things like adding wind movements or ringing in the ears during the flashbang. Because our performers had masks on set, their dialogue was muffled and mostly there for reference. Later on, we did ADR with our actors to capture higher quality audio, both for certain lines of dialogue and scenes, but also for all of the fighting. This included random grunts and breathing noises to make the fights feel natural and not like an empty scene. We had a lot of fun at transported audio going through the scenes again with the cast. At last, after months of time, the visual effects, music, and sound were all done, which left the final step, color grading. I was excited to go to PhotoChem and work with our colorist Alistair Arnold. The first thing we talked about wasn't actually color, but more of what our thoughts were on the overall tone and inspiration. From there, I wanted Al to just do his own thing and approach the film with a fresh set of eyes, so He would start playing around with looks, and we'd slowly dial in bits and pieces to eventually get the final aesthetic for the film. Once everything was completed, I was able to submit the project to film festivals. It took a few more months to hear back, and we had some fun screenings with people at theaters, and then we could finally release it online. And now, after almost 3 years, the project has wrapped. I hope we were able to make something shui and exciting for Batman Beyond fans everywhere to enjoy. Thanks for watching.